ethics in business. What do you understand about business ethics? Business ethics ensure that a certain basic level of trust exists between consumers and various forms of market participants with businesses. For example, a portfolio manager must give the same consideration to the portfolios of family members and small individual investors. These kinds of practices ensure the public receive fair treatment. Okay, let's get started by talk about ethics in general. What is ethics? If you're like most people, you don't really spend much time thinking about the philosophy of it. About once in a while, it's critical exercise that you need to go through in order to clarify your values and principles, especially with regard to the workplace. Well, business ethics refer to standards and practices in the workplace settings. Business ethics includes societal standards of right and wrong, business ethical standards and circumstances, and the last one is legal standards. The concept of business ethics began in the 1960s as corporations became more aware of a rising consumer-based society that showed concerns regarding the environment, social causes, and corporate responsibility. The increased focus on so-called social issues was a hallmark of the decade. Since that time period, the concept of business ethics has evolved. Business ethics goes beyond just a moral code of right and wrong. It attempts to reconcile what companies must do legally versus maintaining a competitive advantage over other businesses. Firms display business ethics in several ways. For example, consider the matter of quality control for a company that manufactures electronic components for computer servers. These components must ship on time, or the manufacturer of the part risks losing a lucrative contract. The quality control department discovers a possible defect, and every component in one shipment faces checks. Unfortunately, the checks may take too long, and the window for on-time shipment could pass, which could delay the customer's product release. The quality control department can ship the parts, hoping that not all of them are defective, or delay the shipment and test everything. If the parts are defective, the company that buys the components might face a firestorm of consumer backlash, which may lead the customer to seek a more reliable supplier. Here are the common ethical issues in business and what you need to know. The first one is discrimination and harassment in small business. Harassment and discrimination are arguably the biggest ethical issues impacting small business owners today. Should an instance occur, the result could be financial and reputational devastation. Though discrimination and harassment laws have been put in place and continue to be reformed yearly, thousands of businesses are saying complaints levied against them each year. According to the United States Equal Employment Opportunity Commissions, or EEOC, there were 76,418 charges filed in 2018 alone, costing hundreds of millions in losses. Types of discrimination and harassment. Although discrimination and harassment policies in business settings deal with separate types of treatment, they both are used to protect employees with differing backgrounds and circumstances. The EEOC defines many different types of discrimination and harassment status, but the most common that can affect your small businesses are age, usually for those 40 and older, but can apply to any against policies or treatment. The second one is disability. Accommodation and equal treatment must be provided within reason to be ADA compliant. Next is equal pay. Compensation for equal work must be equal regardless of sex, race, religion, and so on. Next is pregnancy. Accommodations and equal treatment must be provided within reasons for pregnant employees. Next is race or color. Employee treatment must be consistent regardless of race or ethnicity. Religion. Accommodations and equal treatment must be provided within reason regardless of employee religion. Next is sex. Employee treatment must be consistent regardless of sex or gender identity. Last one is workplace discrimination. Discrimination can be any treatment that negatively affects the employee when it comes to the job itself. This can be anything specific to the job and its duties that are treated differently based on the employee having any of the above personal characteristics or circumstance. An unfortunately popular example in the gender wage gap, where employers pay women less than a man who is considered to be performing the same work. Other examples, companies have been charged for include firing an employee in the tech field for being perceived as too old or refusing to provide opportunities for advancement for people of certain races or ethnicity. Workplace harassment. Harassment, unlike discrimination, is an ethical issue that involve the social and personal treatment of people within a small business. This can include teasing, inappropriate sexual behavior, and even verbal or physical abuse by a supervisor, co-worker, or non-employee. The bullying of an employee with a physical or mental disability would be an example of workplace harassment. Compliance and governance. Unlike harassment and discrimination, which deal more with personal employee relationships, compliance and business governance issues cover more broad company ethics. Generally, a problem arises when the interests of the company are used to outweigh societal or business norms and law. Ethical issues of compliance are often tied to companies as a whole, straying from the way they are legally responsible to conduct business. Businesses are required to comply with all environmental, federal, and state regulations. If they do not, they can put the health and livelihood of those within and outside of their company at risk. Some businesses knowingly disagreed these regulations to improve profits. Think of a company that illegally dumps its waste. They know that it is wrong but do it because it reduces the cost of finding safe alternatives. The third one is accounting issues. You always hear that numbers don't lie. when accountants and companies act unethically, however they do. Avoiding accounting violations. This part is easy. Have a hand in going over every financial statement and report in your company, or have a trusted, honest accountant who will pore over every number to make sure everything is correct. It may seem like a no-brainer, but greed can get the best of some people. Protect your company to make sure one unethical decision doesn't mean the end of everything you work hard for. The number 4 is employee theft. Some of the ways employees steal from their companies include money. Stealing money is the most common type of employee theft. Second is time. It is hard to realize for some, but being paid for more hours than an employee is productive is theft and should be treated as such. Next is supplies. Office supplies like pens, notebooks, and other property are often stolen without companies even realizing it. Next, information. Stealing companies and trade secrets as well as client information could put your business at risk. Business ethics laws and regulations. Business ethics laws and regulations dictate a standard of conduct that represents going beyond doing the legally right thing to acting morally right. The word itself, ethics, is derived from the Latin word ethos, which defines the moral values and characteristics of a society.